Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we're here to talk about the gram.
Instagram.
Otherwise known as IG.
The IG.
The IG?
No, I don't know.
Which is like different than the OG.
Right.
We will cover that one day too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, let me preface this for anybody listening right now who doesn't know what the gram is.
Yeah. They might think who knows what you're talking about?
It's so niche.
Yeah.
A lot of you might not be aware that there's this
It's
app.
a social media platform.
Is it a platform? We're calling it. It's a platform.
Yeah.
But not like a platform you walk up on.
No.
Those are like stages,
Right.
and that's a very different kind of
Nope.
thing. This is an app, essentially. You might know it as an app,
Yep.
we could say.
Yeah.
It's available on the iStore.
It is. Is the iStore a thing?
Is that where my thing broke down? At iStore. Yes. Sophie snorted. I think that's your first snort on our podcast. If you get Sophie to really, really laugh, you get a snort. So I'm proud.
Once in a while.
I'm good unwinding this. We can just shut this down now and we're good.
Yep.
I got what I needed.
That's a wrap.
So, okay, in all seriousness, everybody, in all seriousness, Instagram is an app.
Whether you have it or not, you know what it is.
You know what it is. Honestly, the vast majority of you listening right now probably heard about the fact that this podcast exists on Instagram.
Truth.
Because you may or may not follow Sophie, but odds are you do. Because you're up to how many people now?
At this moment, I think 111,000.
It's a good number.
Yeah.
We like 111.
Yeah, I would kind of like to stay here.
Just stay here. Well, can we go to 1111, like 1,111,111?
But can we pause at 111 and then I just jump up to 1 million?
111,000.
111,000. Would that work?
Instagram, if you can
Dear
just
Instagram.
DM us and tell us if that's possible. We love it.
Dear Instagram. Sincerely.
So some of you may have heard about Sophie on there first, followed her there, then found out we had a podcast, then came over here, and then you're either listening right now or you're not, because you either like this or you don't. It's a totally different, the podcast is a totally different format. But Sophie, you've been on Instagram how long now?
Since it started. Yeah. Instagram started, was it 6 years ago?
Is it? Is that short?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
those guys, if it's really that short, those guys blew up.
Oh, yeah. Google it.
I remember the conversations. Oh, I'm Googling
I know you are.
right now. Google.com. If
Yeah.
you guys haven't heard of Google,
Oh, boy.
it's a website.
Sorry, guys. Adi has officially lost it today. I don't know what's going on with him. He does this by Sunday. It's like, if
Too
he
much.
his
Just too
brain,
much.
he has too much on his plate always. But during the week, he has an assistant here now. Shout out to Savannah for not murdering him yet. And then,
Well, she can't. She'll stop getting paid.
true. So on the weekends, he's always shocked by Sunday when he's like, I'm so out of it. I'm really,
Wait, does this happen every Sunday?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Every Sunday, you act like a psycho.
How is it that I'm this unaware of my
Yourself,
own
because you're
self?
in work mode all the time, so you don't know who you really are. You need to meditate and go to yoga. But yeah, so Adi every Sunday freaks out.
8 years. 8 years it's been around.
8 years for Instagram. Okay, I need to finish my thought here.
Sorry.
So every Sunday, Adi freaks out because during the week he's just busy with work and
Like a busy bee.
like a busy bee. And then the weekend rolls around and he doesn't know what to do with himself. So he'll like sneak his phone and like sneak some work here and there. And he's not good at creating lists. So
And when you say not good,
he
you
hates-
mean I cannot do it.
He cannot
My
make a
mom
list.
tried to teach me how to do that, like from first grade to sixth grade.
Yeah. I love lists. It just like helps. I can just compartmentalize it. Like I'll just be like, okay, these are the things I have to do tomorrow. And then I'll add to the list and then I will refer back to the list.
We have a thing now, Trello. Those of you who haven't heard, so now I have a place at least where I can dump things, but then like Savannah has to help me go through it later.
Yeah.
I talk about it in my TED Talk. Like people think it's a joke. The people who actually know me understand it is not a joke. If I don't do it in the moment,
Yeah.
I get anxious.
So I think that's what happens is by Sunday, you're so anxious because Friday night we put phones away for Shabbat. Saturday, you're not working. You're like sneaking it in here and there, but these thoughts are just swirling around your head and you cannot handle it. Maybe. So by Sunday, you're freaking out because you got so much anxiety. You're like, I don't know what's going on.
I feel like I need a book though. Like I need to read.
You need to read a book.
Need a book. Yeah. But then we don't have time. With 3 kids now, it's just
you do
tough.
have time.
Okay.
You do have time.
I have time, ladies and gentlemen.
Every single time I go to breastfeed, you could sit and read a book.
Yeah, but anyway, I need that. Like I sink into my books for like an hour, 2 hours.
Okay, Adi.
But I can do it at
Maybe
nighttime,
you can rearrange a little and go for the 35 minutes instead of the hour.
Maybe.
I'm married to a brat, ladies and gentlemen. An actual brat. I like to sink into my book for an hour. So I don't know if I can rearrange my schedule. I'll just not read it all.
How do we get to this from Instagram?
Okay, so
I'm gonna have to
8 years ago.
I'm gonna have to rewind this episode to understand how we got here.
Okay, so
8 years ago.
8 years ago, Instagram started. Around then, I jumped on. I was definitely on Facebook when that was happening. Before that, MySpace, and that's when I first got into college. Was when MySpace was starting. I was at UCLA, and
shout out to anybody who's still on MySpace. That's Justin's thing now, right?
Are people still on that?
Justin got that.
Who's Justin?
JT.
Oh, dear God. We're calling him on a first name basis. I'm just supposed to know who Justin is. Okay, guys. Justin apparently now owns MySpace.
I think he's one of the owners, yeah.
We still don't know. I still know nobody that is on it.
No. If you are on MySpace, please write us.
Yeah,
let us know.
I'd love to know how it's going over there. So anyway, there was also some Friendster happening, which kind of like... I was excited about Friendster. I liked it.
Did you? I never got on Friendster.
Okay. So Friendster, and then we had Facebook.
I did the Facebook back when it was thefacebook.com.
Oh, yeah, the Facebook. So the Facebook and MySpace and Friendster, and then Instagram popped up. And for me in the beginning, I really used it for philosophy. I used it to get the word out. I understood it as that. I just understood it. A lot of times in the beginning of my kind of like career, people would interview me and ask, where can I find you? AKA, where do you spend the most time? And for me, it was really more like what resonates the most? And where is your voice most heard? And for me, it was always my blog and then Instagram.
You did Pinterest for a minute.
I never resonated with Pinterest. I'm just not, it just doesn't work for me. I don't think I am a very visual person. It's, this comes up in other parts of my life too, but I really like the written word and I really like expressing myself in that way. And I like a picture too, but I really like being able to write long captions and really
There's
connect.
A lot of pictures on Instagram.
I know. I'm saying not like Pinterest though.
Pinterest is like only pictures.
Only pictures.
Yeah.
I like the connection.
No, Instagram is an interesting connection. I didn't get it at all at first. Like when everybody was flipping out about, and you know me, I still, social media, it's so hard for me, but when everybody was flipping out about, oh my God, we're all moving to visual and pictures only, I did not get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I really did. And I really liked it and felt at home there. So that's where you can find me, is on Instagram. If you don't follow me, it's sophie.jaffe. And our work account is Philosophy Love. And the Ignited one is ignited.me. So you can find us all on there. I'm kind of floating around between them. But yeah, I jumped in right away and I used it. I loved it for philosophy. I shared so many recipes, raw food recipes, tips.
You and your dad got into a fight about Instagram when you first got on it. I remember, because your dad's a cinematographer. For those who don't know, Ruben Aronson, amazing stuff. If you're into documentaries, especially, go check him out. Really, really cool, amazing things.
Shout out to Dad.
Yeah, shout out to Gaga.
Ruben Aronson.
We will put a link to his blog and his
IMDb, or no, his Vimeo.
Yeah, maybe his Vimeo. Somewhere where you guys can see
some of his work. I mean, it's beautiful, insane.
Discover, National Geographic. He's done a lot of stuff. Really, really cool stuff.
Discovery Channel, National Geo. Yeah.
But he's a cinematographer and a photographer, and he kind of got mad at you because you weren't posting.
He's like, you're not using it right.
Pictures as like a photographer. Because a lot of artists were using it to do visual media. And you guys got into a real fight. It was like a couple of weeks. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know Sophie intimately, this is kind of a thing. Sophie's family likes to air everything out and talk about it until it's good.
Everything.
So when there's a fight, it's like a 3-week fight about
every detail.
Whatever, like you didn't wash the sink the right way. And then it becomes like a 3-week thing. And then everybody's good by the end, but it's been a 3-week thing. So you had the same one about Instagram. And I remember you felt really passionate about it. Like you stood your ground because you said, no, this is how I use this thing. And I use it, as you mentioned, to promote philosophy.
Yeah, I said, find one thing from the people who started Instagram that says this is only for beautiful photos, period. Like, you find some proof there, sir, that you're right. Like, find some proof for your position, because I don't agree. I'm using it. I have plenty of people in my community that are using it to share recipes, be inspired by each other, share their baby pictures, whatever they want, because it's just whatever the person who's sharing wants to do. And totally. That's okay. And he like wouldn't have it. But then eventually he did. He came around, and now look at him.
Look at him now.
Look at him now.
I mean, you can't because it's a podcast, but
right.
If you go to the links, you will be able to.
Truth.
But you now, it's kind of interesting because now you moved into a much more aesthetically aware, visually oriented way of using Instagram.
I mean, I thought that I was there doing that then. I was just using apps like Hipstamatic.
Okay. I get it.
Shout out.
But you were taking pictures like at events and sharing them with people.
Yeah, but I thought I was taking nice pictures. I just didn't know any better.
Well, that's by itself a really cool element of what happens with Instagram. Because, I'm somewhat conflicted. We talk about this all the time, but I'm somewhat conflicted about the fact that even when I share vulnerability, like we have friends who I got to give a shout out to for being incredibly good at being super authentic. Jennifer does this.
Pasteloff.
Yeah, Jennifer Pasteloff does this really well. There are people who, not always, but every once in a while, they come out with a huge home run swing of like, no, this is me at my rawest. Not just like no makeup, but like at my rawest. And I try, but there's still for sure a part of me that feels weird kind of putting everything on display.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
In a visual sense. But I'm saying in a visual sense, like when it's a real nightmarish disaster visually, I still hide a little bit. And
I think it's all about your personal comfortability. It's all good. Like, I don't think that's what this is going to be about in this episode, is really about being authentic to you and what feels good to you. Like, you don't have to like strip down naked just because that's what Jen does. And that's really what I've realized. The biggest thing I've realized on Instagram is be who you fucking are. Do what feels right. You know your audience best. You see what does well. You're the one that has those little inclinations and the feeling of like what really hits home. And doing what someone else is doing just because they have a good response, or you think they have a good response, or that they have some kind of a relationship with Instagram, that's their own stuff. It's not yours. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, I'm more, I'm in awe of people who can do that well.
Right.
I think it's really awesome. Yeah. And
I think that's the biggest thing that people say to me, not about necessarily visually, but just like how much I share. That's what, when we talked about it with the body book, Amanda just moderated a panel with me and Mickey Ash, one of my best friends. And it just kept coming back to, she was like, you're just so vulnerable on there. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of like peeking into my journal. Like Instagram's like, hello, you just found my journal and cracked it open. And it is like that for me. It's a platform for me to share, because if I can inspire or help even one person by reading it, even if I get, if it feels a little embarrassing in the moment, or like, shit, I really shouldn't have done that, it always turns out to be better.
Those are the best ones. I remember I went to one of those conferences. There was actually like a marketing conference, but this woman got up and, everybody got up and pitched on kind of how to sell better to people. And she got up and said, she called it the invisible funnel. It was like, what if you just don't focus on selling? What if you just focus on connecting to your people?
Exactly.
And she shared some really intimate kind of shares that she has had that had gone viral that I loved, because again, like I said, I have a mixed feeling about putting everything you do on display in that kind of way anyway. And so the idea that you can do it, but then use it as a tool for good was really, really impressive for me. And I'm going to find her name so I can share it, because I want to link to her stuff too. And I think you're right. You've got to find your voice, no doubt. I think that's important, no matter what you do and no matter where you are. In the context of Instagram, it's like it's gotten like super complex. Like there's the visual, there's the video, there's the I remember when you would talk to me originally about kind of like looking at your feed and then now stories. Now they have IGTV. And so I think what will be really cool for this episode for a lot of people that are listening, there's some people who are listening who just want to hear from you as somebody that they're following and kind of what does your thing and how do you do what you do. Mm-hmm. And then there's some people probably listening who want an audience. They have
who want to grow their account.
They have a message to share. And I think it'd be really cool to share tips with
Absolutely.
them.
I'm happy to.
About how to do that. So let's just dive into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the themes that we've already kind of hit on here, a mistake that I made was speaking last summer to someone who was a social media expert. He is a social media manager to a lot of huge celebrities.
Guru, like Ariana Grande, like
huge.
Some of the biggest names you've ever heard of in the world, he manages their accounts.
And we chatted on the phone for a while and he gave me some advice and I followed it to a T and I felt like my soul was dying. Instagram for me is a place where I share my heart, my soul, my deepest, darkest moments, vulnerability, my joys. It really is like a journal. And it took all that away. So when he looked at my Instagram, he was like, why is your husband on there? No one wants to see your husband. No one wants to know that you're married. Then they're either jealous or they're mad or, all these different things.
Well, and he wanted you to keep a focus.
Sure. I hear that. But I love my husband. I want to share my joys and my everything with you and with my people. I want to be honest. And he's like, why do you have your kids on there? Get your kids out of there. What is it that you want? I understood his reasoning. My point for sharing this is that it didn't work for me. And I'm actually really happy with where I am right now because I'm fully showing the whole spectrum of who I am and where I am in my life. And I'm landing great collaborations by being who I am, a mother and a wife. Yes, I'm still into fitness. Yes, I'm still into yoga. Yes, I'm still into superfoods and smoothie bowls and all of that. But to me, it just became a little thin. I don't only want to share my fitness and my wellness just because that's part, my career. I also am me and I also have children and I also am married and I also want to share all of that on that platform because it makes me feel like I'm being fully authentic and honest. And it works. For some people, it might not work. For some celebrities, it might not work. For me, it works.
Yeah.
And I learned that. And I think the point there is like I had one of the top gurus in social media giving me advice. I didn't follow it and I'm continuing to grow. And, maybe not as fast a pace.
Right. I think that, again, it depends on what your goal is.
What your goal is, yeah.
Like if your goal is to just grow your account.
Exactly.
And get bigger numbers, then
probably
essentially this guy's message was stick to a certain kind of picture and just do that picture over and over.
Totally.
If you do fitness, just do fitness. Like, one example, for instance, like take Talia Sutra, who, for those of you who haven't listened, we had her on the podcast as one of the first episodes, really, really amazing Israeli yogi. We're probably going to see her again and maybe record her again when we go to Israel. You look at her feed and 90% of the pictures are her doing these incredibly flexible yoga poses. That's her thing.
Right.
So I think there is.
And I agree with him that is a way to grow your account.
Exactly.
So for those of you trying to grow your account in a more rapid way, pick one thing and focus on it.
Yep.
If you want to focus on yoga, focus on yoga. If you want to focus on, recipes, focus on recipes. Do the same thing every single day in the same way. Like pose in front of the same area, the same time, wear similar clothing, similar colors. Do that and you will grow your account much faster.
Yeah.
Personally, that's not what I'm there only for. And so.
No, for you, as you just mentioned, like even when Remy talked to you about this, it was like, it hurt you right from the beginning. You fought it. When you said you followed it to a T, you still stretched them. He was like, it should be one or two kinds of pictures. You're like, can we do 3 different types? And it was like, because this felt so inauthentic to you. And like you said, you use Instagram. But
I tried.
You did.
For several months.
And you used Instagram to express yourself.
Yeah.
And that's not your expression.
Yeah, it actually was when we got pregnant. So like 3 months after I had that conversation with him. So
we were on the way to Bethany. I remember we were in the car and like a 2-hour conversation.
July. So exactly a year ago, I had that conversation with him. And I followed it for a couple months really religiously for me. And then I got pregnant and I was miserable. And I kept up with the front a little bit. Like I was like, hadn't announced yet that I was pregnant until 11 weeks. And then once that announcement came out and I was so sick and I was so uncomfortable, I was like, I can't I cannot for the life of me post a happy picture or a picture of a smoothie bowl right now when I am not eating smoothie bowls and I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And that's where like it just, I couldn't do that. And that's when I started to share about the pregnancy. And then it kind of rolled out from there. So the last 10 months, I've been full on mommy mode and full on pregnancy mode. And that's just where I'm at. And that's, yeah.
But I think in a lot of ways, this is a good reflection for those of you listening about how to do Instagram. This is a little bit of a sidebar, but that's also a good reflection of how you do everything you do.
Yeah.
Right. Because there are good business practices that would be followed by somebody who owns like a superfood powder company, but you would rather do things the way that feels authentic and positive to you, which then ends up going down a different path. And I mean, from clothing to whatever it is. So I think for anybody listening, it's really important. What I'm connecting to right off the bat is it's really important to decide in the beginning, what's your goal? Why are you doing this? What are you looking to do? If you want to just get bigger numbers and that's your only goal in doing Instagram, then there are best practices. And that's kind of like Sophie was just talking about. Pick a type of picture, maybe
kind of
two.
like look at Philosophy Love account. That started way after mine and it's already at 50,000.
It's amazing.
Why? Because we're very consistent with
Food.
We share things with philosophy in it.
Cute girls with food and then food.
Yep. That's it. Period. So it's grown way faster than my account has because I refuse to be that disciplined and I want to just show who I am and have a place to express myself.
And if I can say, when you first decided to have two of these accounts, a lot of people were like, you're crazy for having two accounts.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I love it. I'm so happy. Yeah. Especially because it felt kind of late in the game to start an Instagram.
Oh, it took you a while to get it to like 2,000 followers.
Exactly. And then it just took off.
Yeah. So again, decide on why, right? Like Sophie, as what she's saying, it's kind of like her diary. And so you're not going to lie to fucking people on your diary. You're not going to sit on your diary and say, today I ate this and that and the other thing, and I felt really amazing about it, and I hung out with all my best friends, when really you were sitting alone in a room, like banging your head against a wall, crying.
Yeah.
Because that's not the point of a diary.
Yeah, we have a really beautiful blog post on philosophy, which we'll link in the show notes. A fellow Instagrammer shared her feelings on the Instagram community, especially in the wellness space. And it's all about how a lot of people lie about what they're eating, what they're doing just to get that Instagrammable moment and how sad that is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we'll link it in the show notes, but it is, very on topic here.
Well, that was what was hard for me, so I'm in the mental health and addiction space. I obviously cannot take pictures of my clients as they're in therapy. That would be completely inappropriate. And I had for a long time, I had a hard time figuring out what the hell would I even do. So now I settled on this kind of checkerboard thing because half the things I want to do are inspirational anyway, so I can just do it with words. And then the rest, I had to do photo shoots.
Yep.
And I remember when Ashley first came to do the first photo shoot I've ever done in my life, it was really uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I've now realized we just did the third or fourth photo shoot since that time, and it's been like 6 or 7 months, but I know my why. My why is I want people to connect to what it is that I'm doing off of Instagram so they can be inspired and change their lives. And so for me, the only reason I'm even doing it is in support of that.
Yeah.
And so
it's a tool.
The pictures, exactly.
It's a vehicle to get them to your other stuff you're doing.
Exactly.
Ignited recovery, etc.
Yeah. So really important to figure out as you're starting this journey, why are you doing it and what's important? Are you just doing this to share it with friends and family? Are you doing it to grow a brand? Are you doing it because you want to have a place to journal about what's going on for you? Are you doing it because you want to discover and connect with other people? Like whatever
in your
it is.
Community. Yeah. And I think that comes on my next point, which is really focusing on, if you do want growth, focusing on real collaborations and really healthy collaborations that are aligned and real relationships. So whether that be another Instagrammer.
Explain that, both the Instagram and the brand one, because I think when you discover this, it totally changed the way you interact.
Yeah, like people always ask in the beginning, or not in the beginning, but like once I started really getting a following, like 50, 60,000, they're like, how did that happen? What do you do? Do you have any advice? And my number one tip still is real relationships, real collaborations. So there is no, fast way. There's no you can't skip around here. You really have to build relationships. So with brands, we'll go to that first. Finding brands that you align with. So just so you know, there are micro influencers, everyone who's listening, and there are macro influencers, I guess we'll call them.
Or like major influencers.
Major influencers, yeah. The micro influencers are usually between, I'd say like 3 and 15,000 or so.
Okay.
And you can now make money or at least get some free shit by being a micro influencer. You have a lot of power. And a lot of brands are recognizing this now. There's a lot of big accounts that don't have good engagement, don't give a shit about their followers, and just kind of want to make money, and don't nurture those relationships that aren't showing up in a real way. And I think brands, I've had conversations with tons of brands, and they're seeing that and they're feeling that. And micro influencers can totally, you're making a difference, you're making an influence, and you can make some money. So when I realized this, I was actually with Ksenia from Breakfast Criminals, and Alex from In My Bowl. She might have changed her name actually to her name now. But anyway, I was with them, 2 fellow Instagrammers and foodies. They're amazing. We were up in Wanderlust, and we had our first conversation about Ksenia was like, you can make money from your Instagram. I think I had like 20,000 at that point. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. For every 100 followers, it's
like $8
$8 per 100 followers. I'm like, what? That means I could make like $150 from like a post? What? That's crazy. Charging? And that's when that switched for me. And I think that was like 3 years ago, maybe 4. And Noah just jumped because she fell asleep feeding. And she just woke up and was like, what's going on? Yeah, so that was the moment 3 or 4 years ago that I realized that I could charge for things. At that point, I was making myself crazy. I was getting so much free stuff sent to our house in the valley.
Oh, and you'd have to like review it and take pictures.
Oh, I'd have piles of stuff for like blog reviews on my Instagram, and I have to take photos, and I'm not a photographer, and edit them and then talk about it. And I really wanted to be honest and tell my true review about it. And some things take a while to review. Like you can't just do something once and then necessarily. So I was really frustrated. I felt a lot of pressure. A lot of brands would be like, so when are you going to get that post up? When are you get? And I was like, So that's when it kind of all switched. And that's where my energy and my time taking photos, editing photos, posting photos, sharing my honest review, all of that stuff came in.
Oh, and by the way, we were pretty broke.
And we were broke as a joke.
Yeah.
So at that point, things started to switch, and I'd make $50, $100, $150 for a photo, and for all that work I just said. And sometimes it takes like up to 3 or 4 hours for me to do an authentic review and photo and all of that on my Insta. And it felt really good. And then I really felt good about creating that content. And then it kind of just went from there. It just started to grow from there. But just know that if you do fall in the like micro influencer umbrella, that you too can make money off of it. If you're maybe already in this point of just getting a bunch of free things and brands knocking at your door being like, yo, where's my content? Your time is worthy of money too, not just free things. By the way, I still just take free things sometimes because that's all I want and need. I'm like, you know what? That's highly valuable to my family. I will just take that free thing. You don't even have to pay me. And that happens too. It's like be authentic and be real in that way too. You don't always, if it's not a big deal and it's something you would be paying for anyway, just take the free thing. Don't be like a brat about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, so that was when it started. And everyone under the sun was sending me free things at that point. Now I've learned in the last maybe 6 months to a year that I don't need to take everything that's sent my way. And I don't need to say yes. So I actually say no to much more than I say yes to now, because it is my work. It is my time. It is my energy. And it's my stamp of approval, most importantly.
Yeah.
And I want to be trusted, and I want people to know how I really feel about things. And if it's something that I don't agree with or feel good about, I don't want to share about it.
And there were some, I think we can talk in a second about collaborations that went wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe whether we mention brands or not is part of the thing. But also, a lot easier to say no now that you've got, 90% of the brands, like, we get hotel stays for free, and we get all this stuff that is pretty incredible that wouldn't have been available 3-4 years ago. And I
would say I regret not doing it sooner. So
maybe.
I'm giving this as advice.
Totally.
Is when you're starting out, decide what you're okay with and what you're not. Don't just take it because you feel bad or because someone sent you something for free, so you feel like you should post about it.
But I got to say, as somebody watching from the sidelines, it taught you this hustle.
Yeah.
Like, nothing else did.
Sure.
That you kind of had to show up and you had 4 brands in a day you had to take pictures of and review. And that was, you got better at photography.
Yeah.
You got better at writing captions. Sure. You got better at understanding Instagram because now there was somebody else on the other end expecting it versus like your friend and 15 other people reading about, you know, our puppy or something.
Totally.
So I saw you becoming much more a professional Instagrammer.
Absolutely.
During that process, and you learned a lot. Now, you just hit on something that I think is really important for a lot of people. Sometimes you should say no, not because you're too busy, but because the brand, the thing, the message is not at all aligned with who you are.
Absolutely.
And if I can, you kind of fell in that trap a couple of times.
Absolutely.
And you ate a lot of shit for it.
Yeah. You know, I'd say really what it was is a brand making some promises that felt really appealing or romantic or a lot of money. There's one brand in particular, I won't mention their name out of not respect because I don't respect them, but out of respect and contracts being violated. But it was a clothing brand, a yoga clothing brand. And I got swept up in just, how do you even describe it?
Well, I mean, first of all,
fancy. It was fancy.
You like the clothes and you liked the deal, and I think it was one of the bigger deals you had gotten. It was
a year contract, and it was a lot of money.
Exclusive.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of money at the time, and more importantly, a lot of my friends were in the same group.
I think it feels like if you're an actor and an agent comes along and it's the first agent, you've never had an agent before. Because before you were getting all the deals individually.
Exactly.
And now somebody was saying, we'll pay you every month.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh.
Yeah, actually it was a 3-year contract.
And it felt amazing because
felt
somebody
wanted.
was willing to do that.
And
for
I felt wanted. It was ego driven too.
Yeah.
And I think more than just the ego driven part, I think this is the most important lesson, is that I knew in the first moment, I knew in the first moment that it actually wasn't the right fit. And I knew, I had this feeling, my stomach hurt, and the woman who signed me up was like, it made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't like her vibe at all. And I knew she was kind of snaky, but I went along with it anyway because of all those other reasons, because of the money, because of the contract, because of being wanted, my ego. And it was the wrong reasons. And now I know. Now I know that it was about following my intuition in that moment when I had a stomach ache, in that moment when I felt her snakiness and her weird vibes. And I was like, I don't want to be associated with a girl like this, but I like all these other girls. Ooh, what do I do here? I mean, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to say no to this opportunity. This is what I wanted. This is what I came here for. This is what anyone would want in my position. And I took it instead of following my intuition. And my intuition knew. I felt it at the pit of my stomach. And I went along with it anyway. And that was one of the hardest 6 months. Actually, it ended up being a year. It was a 6-month contract until I broke it. I got out of it early because they lied to my face several times. And then it was another 6 months of being really depressed and feeling kind of left out and feeling like I wasn't good enough. And it was rough. It was rough. So don't torture yourself. Say no from the beginning to something that your intuition screams. Your body will tell you. If you tap in, and also I could have just taken a second. I think for me, I'm very like in that way impulsive, where like I get really excited about something and then I just want to say yes. I definitely need to slow down a little bit. And I would suggest just taking a moment to just breathe, think about it, think about all angles, and then decide. Well,
again, think about the why, right? So if you're doing it to move your message forward and you want to be authentic, like if you're just doing it for money and just doing it for followers, that might have been a really good deal.
Exactly.
But
they also didn't, like, there were a lot of lies. Like, they didn't hold up their side of the contract. Were supposed to post, they have like 1 million followers over that. They were supposed to post X amount of times and they didn't. Yeah. But they were on me to post 6 times a week for a very small amount, Crazy, right? Crazy
to think that was a contract for 6 times a week.
Crazy.
So that was one example, but there are other examples. For instance, I know that like the messaging didn't end up being authentic, right? Like you come from wellness and health, and a couple of times you ate shit from followers by not doing your due diligence on the people that you're collaborating with. Yeah. And I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if I can actually mention that.
No, I would. You don't mention the brand.
Okay.
But I'm just saying,
It was this particular brand was during my pregnancy. It was a cereal brand. And
that's one of the examples. Yeah. I mean, there were a few examples, but I'm saying,
brand?
I guess more like, part of what I'm saying is this: make sure that you are really clear on what your message is, and then only work with brands and other influencers.
But you also can make mistakes. Like, I thought I had done my due diligence on 2 brands. Like, for example, this one that I was just about to talk about, this cereal brand, I did my research, and everything that I found said that it was no longer GMO. Everything that I found. And those fuckers hide that shit. It's the internet. That's their job.
Yeah.
This is a huge corporation. Their job is to hide it.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to find. And then some people sent me some like underground shit.
And
then we found it. But like, do the best you can, but also we're human.
Yeah.
We're human.
Well,
I'm looking at a sign right now in your office that says you were born to be real, not to be perfect.
Hell yeah.
I had full-on conversations with my followers, like the people that had a problem with that particular cereal. By the way, there were like 4 people out of 100,000. But those 4 people matter to me.
Yeah, we're affected by those people.
We're affected by those people. And I took the time to converse and connect. One of them was batshit. The rest of them had a conversation with me. And we were like, look. And I was like, look, I'm sorry. Like, I also like this cereal and I'm pregnant. I actually really like this cereal and I'm eating it right now. And a lot of my followers just were like, you don't eat this. I'm like, dude, I'm like shoving my second bowl down the hatchet right now.
Yeah.
But it's, we're all just trying to do our best here. So also ease up a little bit on yourself, ease up a little bit on the people you follow. Like, let's all hang out a little bit more chill. Like, let's just give each other a break.
I think that's probably a good lesson for life in general.
Yeah. We're all just doing our best.
So, okay. So you've learned a lot in the last, it sounds like it's only been 2.5, 3.
Oh yeah, so that was brands.
3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, and then people.
The next thing is relationships. So building real relationships, connecting with other people in your industry. Meet up in real time and have lunch, have dinner, have a coffee, have a matcha. And do it because you want to get to know them, not because you want more followers.
I love your examples. Have a matcha. Have a dirty chai.
Yeah.
Maybe a green juice with ginger.
Of course.
Can you have a lemonade? Like a
as long as it's made with real lemon.
Cleanse lemonade kind of.
Oh yeah,
master
cleanser.
Master cleanser. Okay, good. Just have any of those.
Yeah, normal. But yeah, really build some real relationships offline.
And you definitely have those.
And I definitely have those. And I have some really solid friendships. Some of them are big influencers. Some of them are not. But they're people that I met through Instagram, which is really cool. It's cool to build a community there and meet with them offline. And that will then lead to opportunities and collaborations that could really change a lot for you. Like, I've had some really cool collaborations. We teach a yoga class together, and then that leads to something else, and that leads to something else. Like,
you also learn a lot, right? So this is something I learned recently. I don't know how many of you watched the Steven Spielberg documentary, but I had no idea when I first went out to watch the movie that so many of the directors of that time, and I'm talking like Scorsese, Spielberg, I'm going to not remember a lot of these names, but just the biggest directors of the 80s and 90s all hung out together and helped each other out and watched each other's stuff and taught each other how to hone their craft.
Yeah.
And we live in a pretty competitive world. And so unfortunately, a lot of times we're almost kind of taught to stay away from other people because, they're competition.
No, lean in.
But you not only lean in, you literally, you collaborate to help each other out, which I think is really, really cool because everybody grows at the same time together. And
I have my girls' backs all the time. Like, any of my friends are like, hey, will you connect me with this person? Absolutely. Will you connect me with this person? Absolutely. I pick Mickey's brain. I ask her about photography stuff. Like, I ask her how to edit certain things, or I'll ask her to help me. Like, we're all here. If you have an event, ask someone that you trust or like, or, ask 5 of your friends to share your event on their pages if they're local to you, or just don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask your community and your following and your connections for help.
Yeah, and we've really seen, all of you who do this together have really kind of grown together, which is it's really beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
So you get these collaborations and you do events with them, you do shoots with them. You do photos with them.
Yep. I love doing in-person events too. Like in-person events are so much fun. Meeting you guys in the flesh. It fills me up so much.
Awesome.
And I think that's really important to go offline. And also, I think the biggest thing is just knowing that you need to take space away from Instagram too. And this is for someone who might not even want to grow their account, but more importantly for someone who does want to grow their account, step away, take space. Like I'll take 4 or 5 days sometimes away from Instagram, and it's the most refreshing thing. No one's going to die. Your account's not going to fall apart. You're not going to lose 1 million followers. Like just take the space you need, allow the ebb and flow, and know that those, ebbs and flows are going to come and go.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get burnt out. That's the last thing you want.
Yeah, although it is a job. Like if you're going to take it on and you're going to decide to commit to doing Instagram to grow your brand, get your message out.
Sure.
You have to take it as a job. So
it is a job, but also because you can't ever go offline and it's on your phone, you're not leaving the office. You need to create some boundaries for yourself, some healthy boundaries. So maybe that means you just check DMs twice a day. Maybe that means you hire an assistant to help out with those DMs. Maybe you only log in and maybe you only log in once and tag, whatever it is, create your own boundaries so you don't burn out.
So what are some of the simple, I remember when you and I first talked about it when I was first going to try to actually do some stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
What are some easy takeaways for people? Like how often should they post? What should they be focused on in the pictures? What are some just general easy
So first of all, you
of
definitely want to be posting aesthetically pleasing photos. Like no more of the days where you can just post like a random photo off your iPhone that you haven't done any work to. It's just not cute. Like unless you're trying to really drive home a message and unless that's your account, like if your jam is just taking random pictures on your phone and they're just not edited at all and you haven't put it like that could be your technique. That could be your branding.
But don't throw one of those in once in a while.
But don't just throw them in. Like, oh, this is at my kid's graduation and like everyone's looking rough. Like, no, it's just not it doesn't do well for your brand. It makes it look sloppy.
So kind of what goes back to what your dad was saying in the beginning, you have moved to this place where you're like, okay, I really need to care about the aesthetics.
Sort of, but he was saying you're not a photographer, so therefore don't post.
I was thinking it was more about you're not posting professional pictures.
No, he was saying it's for photographers is what he was saying. And I'm like, the hell it is. So really make sure that you are just taking the time to take a couple options instead of just taking the first photo of your, smoothie that you take a lot of options from different angles. You want good lighting. Some very basic things. And you know what? Our iPhones are really nice right now. Our iPhone cameras are super high end. So you don't need a professional camera. Like, will it look somewhat prettier? Yes, it'll look prettier. But you don't need to have a professional camera to take good photos and post them on Instagram. Just take a really nice photo on your iPhone and then download some photography tools. So I like Snapseed a lot. Afterlight has some good stuff in it, and VSCO cam has some good like filters. So I'll kind of hop in between those, but that's all you need is like 1 or 2 editing softwares, and some of them are free. And then just some good lighting and some inspiration. And don't take photos if you're not inspired. If something lights you up, it's going to light your people up. And
I learned from one of our photographers, I totally used to think that like the middle of the day when the sun is bright and right up top was good. Worst time to shoot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Really, I think it is important to pay attention a little bit to kind of just really standard. You can read this stuff online in 5 minutes. Tips on when to get a good picture. And it's actually when the light is more diffuse and the sun of these are just rising or just setting.
Yeah, early morning before the sun goes down.
Primarily take pictures when the lighting is consistent. So not like half of it is in shadow and half of it is in the light. Some of those things are really, really basic.
Yeah, so you want a pretty photo. You want to be able to somewhat edit it. And then get to know your messaging. Like what is it that you want to get out there? And try and stay aligned with that. Like maybe write 3 or 4 things that your intention is for your account. And then come back to that and ask yourself those questions each time.
I like that. once a day, twice a day, specific time of day? When should people be looking at the
Sure.
post?
So really cool. Before I started, we didn't have algorithm, or we didn't have analytics like we do now. So you can actually go into the tools section of your Instagram, and it'll tell you the best time to post and the most popular times and when it does the best. Before, I would have said morning or night. You also need to know your audience. So know where they are. A lot of my audience is in Australia. A lot of my audience is on the East Coast. So I know when to post. I think, who's awake at this time? Who's awake at that time? And then I post.
Cool. I'm trying to think if there are any other tips that people need to know.
I mean, there's so many things. Feel free to send over questions. This is like just 3 layers deep. We could go on in different directions. If we're fine, I'm happy to do a follow-up on this. If you're trying to make your Instagram into a career, we can go into, let's do a future one on actually sponsored posts and like the details of that, contracts, sponsor, how to get sponsored, how much you should be charging, all that kind of stuff. We can do that if you guys are interested in that. But for now, it's really about, I'd say the takeaways here are stay authentic. No matter what, if you're trying to like post to be a micro influencer, a macro, or just to like be present and have a presence on Instagram, stay authentic. Yeah. And also don't follow people that don't inspire you.
I like that. That's one of the messages you gave me a while ago that I really like, is if I follow somebody who, when I look at their pictures, I either wish my life was different or I feel odd or
you compare
bad about
yourself
myself,
to them.
Take them
if you're comparing, and it doesn't mean that they're inherently bad people. Some of these people are beautiful humans, but they make me feel X. They make me feel, if they make me compare my body, my life, my face, my job, anything, the amount of money I make, if I'm comparing myself, bye.
Yeah, I don't have a problem comparing myself. There are some people specifically that, and that's a personal thing, but I'm just saying there's some people that consistently make me feel less than.
Yeah.
Or uncomfortable. Yeah. And I just take them off.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all an ebb and the flow, right?
Yeah,
like that's
totally.
the point.
And I'm just learning. I guess I'm a micro influencer technically, but it's kind of funny to me. But I'm learning how to use it as a tool to get out my message.
So just like that, Adi is a great example. Just know, and I actually coach people in this all the time. I don't charge for it, but people in my life that come and ask me questions, you need to own it. You are a micro influencer.
No, I get it.
And if any of you have 2,000 or more followers, even like probably 1,800, you need to own it. If you are influencing people and people are asking where you bought that, what you did, if people don't seem to care and you're not getting many likes and you're not getting many questions about things, then maybe not. Yeah, but if you can feel that you have an influence, own that, and you have a responsibility.
People care about the inspirational piece of what I do. I don't think people ask about like the fashion and that kind of stuff, which is good. That's kind of why the space. I didn't want to get into it for that anyway.
Yeah.
So, I get the power of social media. It's pretty difficult to ignore at this point, right? It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and I also think there's a responsibility that comes to it. I think that's really important too, and something that I really focus on. Like, I'm fine losing hundreds to thousands of followers if it means that I'm being true to myself. Yeah. I'm fine speaking out politically, socially about things that are important to me and things I have an opinion about. And I think a lot of influencers won't. And I think that's a big boo-boo. I think that's a problem. I think that we need to tell our truth and use these platforms for good.
Yeah, I think that goes along with the whole notion of like, this may sound like a criticism, but you don't need everybody on Instagram to like you.
No.
You don't need everybody on Facebook to like you.
That was a big lesson for me too. I want everyone to like me, but not really.
Be clear on your message. You want your people to like you.
I want my type of people. Exactly.
And if you're authentic, you'll find your people. And they will stay there. And that's good, right? I mean,
and you'll weed out the ones that don't matter and the ones that are naysayers and the ones that aren't supportive and the ones that are critical. You don't need that in your life.
Yeah.
In real time or on non-real time, screen time.
Cool. Well, I hope that this was really useful for people. Obviously, we do a lot of stuff on social media, whether it's the letting people know about workshops that are coming up or events or courses that we have online. As usual, we'll have links to all of those things that we do here in the show notes. If there are things you want to hear about, let us know. We love getting those messages from you, and we save them and we keep them for future reference.
Yeah, go to ignited.me on Instagram and send us a DM. It'll be less flooded over there. and we can save them in a folder on Instagram now.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for listening and caring and loving us. We love you. Keep in touch.
Love you all. Bye. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.